Dear future Enoch, today I'd like to give one final hurrah to something that has been with me for the past 11 years now. This. This is a netbook, a small, lightweight, and dreadfully underpowered laptop intended for light web browsing, and maybe some light office tasks. Netbooks were born in an era where laptops were huge hulking BFGs that weighed a ton, and so there was demand for a small, lightweight consumer-grade laptop. And netbooks filled that spot. My parents bought this for me when I was starting high school in 2012, and it filled its spot as being my first ever laptop, as well as the first computer that I got entirely to myself. I'd boot it up for you, but I yanked out the hard drive and wiped it, and the battery shot anyways. I'm making this video because I'm going to be throwing this out soon, so I figured why not make a video saying goodbye to it one last time. The laptop ran Windows 7 Home Premium with an AMD C60 CPU, a paltry 4GB of RAM, and a 500GB laptop hard drive. The chassis flex reminds you of a piece of plastic. The screen is of usable but terrible quality. The webcam wouldn't survive the COVID era. And the best use case for the trackpad is to help you set up an external mouse so you wouldn't have to deal with it. On a positive note, the keyboard is actually kinda nice to type on, surprisingly. And there's quite a lot of I/O, certainly more than a lot of professional laptops these days. Seriously, there's HDMI, VGA, 3 USB-A ports, and even an SD card reader. Being thicker than my current MacBook Pro with barely a fifth of its processing capability, this thing absolutely chugs. This was never a star performer, and the only things it could do with reasonable speed was basic word processing and very light web browsing. And by light, I do mean light, like minimal CSS and JavaScript. My high school started shifting towards G Suite and Google Classroom and away from Microsoft and Windows, and this netbook, despite the name, couldn't handle the transition. Google Docs would lag while I typed in it. It was horrible. This thing is definitely not a gaming powerhouse, but funnily enough, I was able to install and reasonably play games like Civilization 4, The Sims 1, and Trade Winds 2. Battery life was abysmal, with its record being 3 hours if I set the power plan to power saver mode. At normal power settings, it would die after 1 hour sitting at the desktop doing absolutely nothing. In hindsight, this netbook probably wasn't such a great purchase, and not just because of its poor specs. Netbooks were already on their way out in 2012, being replaced by iPads and Chromebooks, both of which were achieving the simple, light form factor without the terrible performance. Although I would have screamed at the idea of going through school with just an iPad or a Chromebook, given how I'm a bit of a power user. Even a proper Windows laptop or MacBook back then would have been a better investment. I bought a proper laptop at the end of high school in time for university, and aside from being booted up a couple times over the years, my netbook has remained largely untouched since. Because let's face it, it's not even a good lightweight computer. It funnily enough got the free Windows 10 upgrade, which I declined because Windows 10 would have absolutely killed the thing. But after a fairly short career of 4 years being a terrible laptop, I think it's time for this thing to go. Adios, high school memory. Future Enoch, I'll see you next week. Adios, high school memory.